So hello, welcome to a new recording. So today we are going to go to Houten, and we are going to start kind of in the middle because I didn't want to record all the way from home. And we are starting at a defensive structure called the batteries, so batterijen in a way, which is also the name for an array of cannons, I guess. So it's just outside of Utrecht. And we are going to bicycle to Houten. And we are doing that because it's getting near to spring. I'll probably put this online when spring is already started. And the reason for doing this is because they have really nice bicycle paths there in Houten. It's a good place to look and also to visit. It's about 50,000 people, and they intend to grow it to about 100,000 people, and then it will, I would almost say, become part of the bigger city of Utrecht. And what's nice about it is that this week, and as you might know with these types of tree, the blossom trees are out, and they have lots of blossom trees next to bicycle paths. And I was there a few days ago to spot a position for taking pictures, and during that ride I was also kind of like, okay, this is pretty neat. The trees just started blossoming, but they given it was such a weird spring, they are not all coming up at the same time, so it might only last a week, maybe a little bit more. So I figured it was a good idea to record it now. So today I went on the bicycle ride, and this is what we got. Now it's probably smarter that I started this video 20 minutes later. So if you are bothered by me just talking for 20 minutes before we get there, you can just jump ahead about 20 minutes and then you see the nice blossom trees. But in the end, this video is again about an hour, and about 20 minutes we are driving from almost, I would say, midway point from Utrecht to Houten, next to the canal, and also on the way back. So I drive around kind of randomly following the blossom trees. And after about half an hour I go back, and I also record another 20 minutes on the other side of this canal. Now, if you are in Utrecht and you decide to go to Houten by bicycle, as you can see, it's a pretty nice bicycle path. I will have one advice. It's probably best to ride on this side of the canal. Make it a little bit bigger. So this side you can see there's a pretty nice bicycle path. So if you work in Houten or Utrecht and you want to commute, this is very nice. But on the other side of the canal, and you will see that, and when we are going back, there's also a bicycle path, but there are stones, and they are not put down that well. So it's actually not a fun ride going back. And almost by mistake on my route back, I went to the wrong side of the canal, and I didn't want to turn around, and so I rode on the other side again, and found out it was no fun. As you can see, it's a lovely day. On a shared bicycle path, quite a lot of people out. Maybe because of the trees, maybe totally unrelated, I have no idea. So on this shared bicycle path, so it can have cars on it. It's kind of funny because they don't expect that many cars, because the grey strip in the middle, which normally has these cobblestones to slow down the cars, they just sort of painted it. So it's kind of like a reversed paint job that we see in a lot of countries. The asphalt is normal red, so true and true red, but they painted the grey stripe on it. Modern windmills up ahead. So we're going to see different canals sort of joining together. But this is the normal white Amsterdam Rhine Canal. And as you can see, spring has started. It was about 15 degrees Celsius. So we are getting there. But it's been a weird sort of soft winter and spring sort of mixed. That means that the flowers are kind of confused. We see that, of course. I can't talk about your country, of course, but for the Netherlands, I would say that the weather can be a bit more confused these days because of because of the climate change. Let's say it as it is. So some of the flowers are a bit all over the place. Quite a lot of roundabouts, as you can see. And these big windmills. I guess as in any country, there's always people who hate these windmills. I don't think they're ugly personally. I find it kind of weird that you... I'm not saying that I prefer them over the old style windmills from the 16th century or the 18th century. But I do think these also have their own charm in a way. And yeah, some of these windmills, especially this one, they're quite big. They can provide quite a lot of power. I think most of them, it is a tiny bit windy today. But I think they don't need the power, so they are not turned into the wind. So like I said, of course we are also doing the subtitle tricks again. So if you turn on the subtitles and you look at Bodo or AFAR, you will find the speed and where we are and some extra information. But for the rest we are kind of being quite boring, and also where we are going. So the waypoints that I will add. But like I said, for the first 20 minutes or so we are just riding along the canal. I guess some people will find it quite relaxing. Others might be bored with it, so that's why you can jump ahead. So interesting, in most of these longer bicycle paths, they, I would say always, but quite often they put trees on both sides of the road just to kill the wind a little bit for the bicycle, people on the bicycle. In this case they are not doing it. Not sure why. Probably because it's difficult to plant trees there, would be my guess. Also, I know we don't see them here, but we might see them further along. These are also places where the ships can lay anchor or put themselves, connect them to the side of the, I forgot what the name is, side. So they have these connection points. Maybe that also has something to do with it. We hardly talk about this, but as you can see, not all bicycle paths are red. Personally, I prefer if they are red, but I kind of like how it looks. Especially today with the blossom. But there's lots of small villages and areas who say, no, either they were not updated yet, or we want ours to be grey. And this was quite funny because I guess this home owner didn't want to move, or for whatever reason, so we have to side tour a tiny bit from the canal, and then you can see they are putting in these cobblestones. My guess also to speed down even the bicycles. As you can see, there's a few homes there. I'm pretty sure they didn't want to move. I didn't look on the sign. There was something on this sign which was talking about birds. I'm not sure what was on the sign. I should have checked it. As you can see, there's already people out and about doing their things, walking, running, bicycling. And we also have I would say, typical Dutch, but I'm not sure if that's true, skies. I kind of prefer these types of skies over just typical grey or typical totally blue. I guess today I was scratching my nose more than I usually do. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I guess I was hoping that I was not in front of the camera. I guess I was. So if you're really bothered by it, then tell me. It might just be part of the game. So there are not many people fishing today, but on the other side of the canal on Sundays, and I was there last Sunday, because again we are going to one place called Rietplas, and in that location I was taking pictures. I will talk about what I'm taking pictures of. More I would say preparing, because I want to go there when it's a nice evening sky. But I was going there Sunday. That's how I found that the trees were already in blossom. And on the other side, because it was Sunday, there were a lot of people fishing. This is kind of interesting. You see these slots that they put in the side, and you can see it, of course, also in the real picture. Although you can't see it, but you can see the vegetation. Is that they make these slots, I'm guessing, for the birds. So they are all along this route. They've put in extra water areas. I don't think there's any other reason, just to give the wildlife, probably when they build these new areas, because you can now clearly see them on the side. There's quite a few of these new home locations. That they also add a lot of water, so that the birds can still have a place to feel safe, I guess. So Houten was a relatively small village, about 6,000 people about 40 years ago. And it's now about 50,000 people. And like I said, they want to grow it to about 100,000 people. So that means they're all going to take over quite a lot of the land over here. Here you see these some of these connection points, but weirdly enough, my comment about the trees didn't make any sense, because there are trees over here next to the connection point. So here we see one coming up. See the red thingies, and sometimes you see a lot of ships here. So on Sundays, especially in front of the bridge, which we will be in, I'm guessing 5 minutes, there are at least 50 or 60 people fishing last Sunday. I was actually quite shocked how many people were fishing. Could have been some kind of organized event. They do that also, so it could be that there were like 40 people and they were all in one group. It almost looked like that, because they were also sitting at a certain distance from each other. So they are effective. They are doing a match kind of rules. So maybe it was that, or maybe there's always people there on Sunday. I really have no idea. I know this is always part of some discussion, but as you can see, there are quite a few people out and about on the bike, and they are quite a few on e-bikes, especially a little bit older people. And of course also people on speed bikes do notice that they are wearing helmets. Just saying. It almost looks like I'm waving to people. I'm not. I'm clearly picking my nose or it's doing something. This actually was quite a nice bicycle path. But I can understand if you skip ahead because it's kind of boring. It's funny if you see that we are now kind of at about sea level. So that means that the water here is also about sea level. But there are places where the canals are actually above sea level. Which is a weird idea, right? And especially on this side you can also see even, of course everything is relative. But you can already see in some places that the homes are actually below the level of the canal. See one of the bigger bridges over the canal. Which we are now sort of going through, slowing down, you can see. And it's also not, as you can see, within families, so this is clearly a couple. And he's slowing down to let me pass. But he is wearing a cap and she is wearing a helmet. Both on an e-bike. I would almost say that 80% of the older people are on e-bikes. Most of the time, I'm not saying that they are hiding it, but they have somewhat, I wouldn't say cheaper because that's the wrong way of saying it, but this was quite funny because there was a bicycle behind me using his bell. And I sort of said, hey, it was not me using the bell. Because I don't like it. They're just walking there, but they hear the ringing, ring, 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 and I was like, yeah, it was not me. It was the dude behind me. Especially on these smaller paths, I would never sort of use my bell and say, go away, go away. My style doesn't make any sense. So we are slowly getting into the area of Houten. So you see one of these poles again in front of us where it's being used for air alarms. So once a month they go off. They are slowly planning to phase them out. Oh, there's actually a jacket on that pole. Somebody forgot it. We can already see some trees showing some blossom, in this case white, but that's not the type that we are looking for. So we are slowly getting into Houten. Of course, it's mostly newer type of homes and different styles. Yeah, because it's 90% of the homes are built in the last 40, 50 years. Again, you see helmet. It's not that uncommon within certain target groups. We're almost getting to the fun. We can already see some of the blossom trees in our right top. And we are going to cycle kind of randomly. I had a sort of a plan, but I also decided to just follow the trees into the south area of Houten and a little bit into the middle area. But I think these are quite nice sort of bicycle paths. How can you complain? If you have a home here and the weather is nice, you still are able to park your car. And notice how quiet it is. And these part of the city. Some years there, I would say, are more in sync, in that they are all at the same time into blossom. Not this year, but still there are quite a few parts of Houten that are lovely to bicycle this week. So next week it might be less, it might be more, I don't know. So they kind of did it on purpose. This was a pretty smart move. So they decided to, in many of the bicycle paths, to put these types of trees there. For obvious reasons, I won't make too much use of the Google Maps feature, the helicopter view, because I think the main picture is more fun to look at. Although this is a bicycle path, you can see that they have put in quite a few speed bumps, partly to slow down speed bikers, but also of course for scooters and electric fat bikes. Although, as you can see, this is in a way a typical and semi-nice day. I recorded this on a Wednesday, the 20th of March 2024, but you can see that speed bikes are more of a nuisance, I would say, than fat bikes. So we are now going to a place called Rietplas, which is where I was looking to take some pictures. I won't show them because I only took some test pictures. But there are some really nice semi-floating homes and some nice constructions where I want to take some pictures at some point in the evening. So there are a few man-made lakes, and they put some really nice homes with bridges like this one over there. And from a distance you can take some really nice pictures of that. That's what I am going to do at some point. And it's a nice colorful sky. As you can see, there's no practical reason to put the bicycle path and the bridge here. It's just that they feel that it's a nice and if you look at a bigger map, you can see that these homes are kind of really on sort of an island. It's called the Rietplas. And we will try to follow it from the other side. I will stop on the other side and show you where I'm going to take the pictures from, or at least one of the locations. But of course this is using a very wide lens, so I'm not even sure if you can see the homes from the other side. But when I'm taking pictures with the bigger cameras, then of course we will use bigger lenses so that all works out. So tell me in the comments that my obsession with the red bicycle paths actually makes sense, because in a way I kind of like the combination of the red bicycle paths and the green grass, but maybe that's just me. Not supposed to bicycle here, I'm not sure, but I decided to get off and walk a bit. Also because they were walking really slow, I decided to bicycle here and just show you the water. And you can see the homes that we just passed on the other side. And yeah, with a somewhat different lens, it's probably going to be some nice pictures that I can take from here if we have a nice sky in the evening. So most of these man-made lakes are a result of building processes. So they dig up the ground and put them on the land, make the building land higher. That's always needed if you are building, especially in a country like the Netherlands. But it also makes sense that I'm not saying that they always do that, but in my area, for example, part of the reason why they do that is to get you a little bit above sea level, for obvious reasons. There might be multiple reasons why they do it, but this is one of the reasons. Again, I'm going, of course, quite slow. So, and then we are going back on the hunt for more blossom trees. We are going to pass another building, which is also quite interesting. Sort of, I'm not sure what shape to call it. It's kind of like a pyramid, but not a pyramid. You see it in the top view. At the top, and we are going to. Oh, it's also in our main picture now. But you can, from this side, it might only look that is one side, but it's three sides. And I remember this was fun because I was here. I know that I have to go here because otherwise there's stairs over there. But there's something funny with a dog, and there's a horse and carriage. So we stop a little bit and let them go over the bridge first. So I was already slowing down for the dog, but the dog is already barking to the horse. It's kind of a nice building, nice bridge. It's an interesting place to live. Very kids friendly, I bet. Oh, it reminds me, I didn't take a picture, but I did notice when I was there a few days ago that there are quite a few storks out with nests that you might aim a camera at some point. But if you try to take pictures of birds, then you also have to bring bigger lenses. Then different styles of homes. Probably not the cheapest homes. And again, you can quite clearly see that on the helicopter view. That is sort of cut the lakes in different parts. And then built some homes like on these islands and floating zone we just passed. I did make a circle, so we've been here before. Well, we've not been here before, but you can see the blue line very well. But now we are really going on the hunt for the blossom trees. We of course already have seen a few, but I was hoping to see a bit more, and we definitely found much more. And then I was sort of just looking around, and if I see them, I try to follow them. There's probably some drawing where they all are, but I hope you enjoyed this video. It's kind of not really has a serious topic, but like I said, probably in a week or so for 2 weeks all these flowers will be gone. Again, if you look at, I find one of the things I find funny about the Google Earth thing, or Street View and Google and Apple in general, is that we can see the world in a different shape. So, for example, you now see that they have built these homes, although on this picture they don't seem to be totally finished yet, in sort of an interesting shape, and you can kind of see what their plan was. But if you're riding through it, like we are doing now, you kind of don't get the feel. This almost feels like an old type street in an old city. Well, clearly it's no, it's not. So personally, I feel that the top view really adds stuff. So we are now getting near to the train station, and you can also see that this train station is kind of interestingly integrated into the city center. And very close you have your Albert Heijn. You can see if you go down there's parking for cars, and I think also for bicycles, although clearly there's also bicycles on top. I'm not sure how many of these smaller centers they have, because like I said, I didn't prepare this too much. But everything normally in the Netherlands, and especially in these new type of areas, I would say in city areas or villages or new areas around the bigger cities, there's always something nearby, if that makes sense. So some shops, public transport, of course, bicycle paths. I think we have talked about this enough in old videos. It's kind of interesting because I hope that you're still enjoying it, but there's clearly areas where I didn't find the blossom trees. In my memory I found quite a lot of them, but if now I'm looking back, of course, and also watching the video, I see quite a few areas where I could not find them. But now I spotted them again, and I'm going to decide, do I go left or do I go right? Making up my mind. Luckily the two girls are slowing me down so I can think a little bit longer. And I've made my decision. I'm going this way first. And we are greeted with a lovely view of not only the trees but also some nice flowers. And how can you be mad if you live here and complain about cars or the 15-minute conspiracy? This is what we mean if you sort of have a good integration between the different modes of transport, I guess. Because again, we've talked about it before, and I'm getting into the same discussion again. See how many cars there are. Old buildings, new buildings. It's all a little bit in the planning. Now I do know that we are spending quite a lot on bicycle infrastructure. I'm not sure how that really compares to other countries. My guess is that most of it is more planning than feeling that the cost will be higher or lower. I'm saying this without really knowing this, to be fair. And the feeling that I always get in these areas is that, of course, it's not a city center, so there are not that many people. But there's still about 50,000 people in this part of the town. But everything still gives you a sort of a relaxed feeling. And I would almost argue that you feel that in most of these newer areas in the different Dutch cities. Now the city centers, which are usually quite small, so I'm braking here so she can take her picture. Yeah, it's okay. And we continue again. So in the city centers, because they are compared, that's kind of funny. In the city centers, it looks very busy in Utrecht and Amsterdam and in Delft and Rotterdam. Rotterdam already a little bit less because it's a little bit more spread out. But the other city centers are, of course, compared to other cities, very small. So, and old and narrow. So they feel and they are often quite busy. But in the rest of the country, although it's still a highly dense population, still one of the highest in Europe, 17 million people, and about 100 by 160 miles. At least I don't really have a feeling that it's too busy. I would carefully argue that I sometimes still feel there are too many cars, in my view. But I was hoping to get on this bridge, but clearly that was not happening. I couldn't figure out how to get on the bridge, so I decided to move around, turn around quickly. This is kind of interesting, is that you can see here these glass protections on the homes. Sometimes they do it totally closed up, and they do that for sound protection from the railway. So in this case, I'm guessing that's part of the reason, but I've also seen them doing it totally up to, let's say, totally close them up, or make them that people can open up or close them for sound. I'm also guessing that this is partly for sound, but if you know for sure, you can leave it in the comments. Doesn't make sense for safety because they're way too high, but I think the glass panels are there to lower the sound from the trains. Of course, if you look at the big view, you can see that there are quite a few trains. And I can also figure out, if I went there, then I would have gone over the bridge. Oh well, I see what mistake I made. Okay, we found more trees. Again, helmet. And trees. Of course, I can be playing tricks on you, but you can already see in the bigger map that we are bicycling back on the path we already passed before. Because you already see a blue line. But we are going to find more new paths. I had to brake for the dog and then I stopped. I'm not sure if we can see him. I was trying to see where the owner was. But he was a very relaxed dog. Of course, in these areas there were old farms mostly, of course. Some small villages. So over time they get incorporated. And I think we found a new path. Proof that, in my opinion, most of the time these days, scooters or mopeds are the most noisy vehicles on the road. Unless, of course, you have, you know the type, the motorcycles that want to make noise or the cars that want to do the muscle thing. But otherwise, the mopeds are the most noisy if they're still not electric. Nice idea of the city of Houten to put these trees along most of the bicycle paths. I also like the willow, which has also done quite a lot of willows. Wee, wee, up and down. I guess the only downside for these is that, of course, they look very nice for a few weeks, but they don't stay this way, of course, for a long time. I found a small castle here and I stopped and I looked at it for a second. I'm not sure what it was. Well, also not sure if I want to call it a castle, but it's something. I will look it up in Google Maps what it is. And if I should visit again. But I decided to get off the bike or at least stop for a second to take some shots. Keeping an eye on the Google helicopter view. If you also see it on there. But you see there's some tower structure thing. Not sure if I can get closer. I'm also keeping an eye on the Google Maps. We also don't see a lot there. So there's a tower and something in the middle of that. There looks to be a bicycle path there. A walking path. So at some point I will see what it is. Of course this is not really fair because of the trees now being in blossom, but in general I find compared to many other European cities that the Netherlands is quite colorful if you're bicycling. Again, because of we have a lot of green, simply because of the wetter weather, of course, but also the red of the asphalt and the trees that are all over the place. This gives me a little bit more of a colorful feeling compared to some other older European cities. As you can see, if we go to the bigger map, quite a few homes here which we are passing. I think most of these bicycle paths with the trees are kind of surrounding the different areas of Houten, and as a result we are not really going to many streets, because these are almost like circling through the middle and around the different areas. This kind of makes sense. Of course, here you do see some willow trees, which are also used quite often. Then I figured I saw more of them, and so I turned around. So, whoa, on the other side of the bridge I also see some more trees, so let's go there. You can see on the helicopter view that some of the areas are not fully built yet, or are not fully built just on the drawings, but in reality they are built. This of course happens quite a lot because the building in these types of areas is mostly not at all so within 5 or 10 year time frame, and Apple and Google are making their new pictures. Often they are missing building project. So this was yeah, some of the blossom trees in Houten, and we are now going back. So I would say it gets semi-boring again, although we are going to see some interesting structure which was meant to be blown up when needed in the canal. But I'm bicycling back for about 20-25 minutes until the battery runs out. So if you're leaving us, thank you for watching. If you're sticking with us, then you can see that, to be fair, I'm bicycling next to the canal, and on these longer roads I find it quite nice, and even to watch it I don't mind. Sorry, I've been quiet because I was searching a little bit of information about one of the upcoming attractions, which I'm already pondering how to translate that. Again, a few more bridges over the canal. So quite often you see railroad bridges and car bridges integrated or next to each other. In this case they're kind of separated. So last week in this area after the bridge, there were quite a few people fishing. I don't think this bridge, because this still has quite good road service. I think it was next to the next bridge. Again, if you are going to bicycle here to Houten from Utrecht, I would advise strongly to bicycle on the other side, although the road here still looks quite nice to bicycle on, and it is okay. Further along it becomes way less nice, because of more cobblestones and it's just not as nice to ride on. I think it starts here, yeah. And even has a sign, bad road surface. I was already unhappy with my decision. And as we see more in the Netherlands, you see in the helicopter view these greenhouses, quite a few of them. I'm not sure what they are planting there, but might be cucumbers or tomatoes. But this is quite bumpy. The good news is that the camera setup is now so stable that it's I can see some more movement in the trees because of the road surface, but I would argue it's still quite good. Also, there are not too many ships today. The water is quite flat, so it does not. The wind died down, and the water is pretty. I would almost say I've not seen it this flat for quite a while. If you are new to these videos, these canal systems are quite extensive and wide. So the Amsterdam Rhine Canal can be up to 110 meters wide, 40 meters deep. And it's the busiest canal in the world. About 50,000 ships use these canals every year. And they can move. I'm not sure if we are going to pass a container ship. I don't think so. But and I say container ship, and of course you're thinking about ocean containers, which have, I know, a lot more containers. But even these smaller ships that we are, which are on this canal, they might have, if we pass them and just count them, there might be between 30 for smaller ships to about 60, 70 on a bigger ship, containers. So think about that. That means that one of these ships, let's take the slightly larger one, let's take 60 or 70 containers on there. So that's 60 or 70 trucks, because a truck, well, normally a truck would only have one container, right? So 60 or 70 trucks for every ship. So it's a very good way to transport goods. But not today, it's very quiet. I think we have passed a few, not many. I know this sounds like an excuse, but now that I have different jackets on, the camera is also slightly differently positioned. And I think that's the reason why my hand is more in the picture. Again, I'm not sure if I'm really going to fix it. It might also add its own charm. Because in a way it's good that I don't think about that the camera is there, right? So I'm always kind of confused about people complaining about these new style of windmills. Do they really make your view less ugly or more ugly? Sorry, less ugly would be a bit weird in this context. Now you can make the argument that if it's next to your home, then the sound might be a problem. The argument of the birds is, again, I kind of, I'm a fact-based person, so I wouldn't try to convince you. You can just Google it yourself, check several sources. But you will be shocked to the numbers of birds that are being killed by these windmills compared to other things. Let's say, for example, cats. It's always interesting to see that, yeah, but these windmills, they kill birds. Yeah, they do. But if you compare them to other ways that birds are being killed, it does not really add up to that much. But again, make up your own mind. But I'm personally not too bothered about it. I do think that especially for some of the northern European countries which have access to the North Sea, for example, that I kind of prefer, or I think it makes sense, to have lots of windmills in the sea areas. But I'm not an overly, how do I say this, aggressive nature person. I am a member of some of the nature organizations in the country, but in general, I think it's more about the balance, right? Everything has to be sort of balanced. The earth can recover itself from many of the bad deeds that we do to it, as long as we give it time to recover. We already saw some hints of that during COVID, how quickly nature is able to recover and try to claim things back. Animals that get into pop up in places where they normally would not pop up during the pandemic years. Nature recovering. But I guess this is a typical Dutch sort of scene, right? I mean, green on the ground, modern windmills, some trees, and the blue sky. These are quite big windmills. I should check them out, but I'm guessing they are about between 3 and 5 megawatts or something. You can maybe Google it while you are still here. So the attraction where we are going, or at least that when I get close to it, I decided to pass it, is one of the locks which they built big sort of containing areas on top of it, so that they could blow it up and block the waterways in case of war. They never used them, and then they figured out it was a bad idea to begin with, and because they couldn't do it over the whole canal, they made it larger later. And the war was already started. They actually finished the locks during the war, so they were never used. And yeah, they kind of admit that it didn't make any sense after the fact. So but they also didn't want to remove it. It was too much work, so they just left them there. Trying to see if I can quickly find information on these windmills. That gets me quiet. I can't find them. I can just find there are 250 in total around the city, but yeah, as far as I can quickly find, there are about 3 megawatt per windmill. So we are getting to the lock we were talking about. So in Dutch they call it the Plofsluis, so a bang lock, I guess. So the idea was quite simple. You build a lock, but of course, if the idea of part of your defense in the country is to flood certain areas, inundate them with water. That was part of the defensive plan that the Netherlands used over the centuries. And if you build these nice canals, of course you give the enemy the option to use them. And that kind of defeats the purpose. So the idea was that in case of war, there were explosive in the top, and there was about 40 tons of dirt and rocks in there. and they will blow it up, and then the whole thing came crashing down. As you can see, only part, because we are going over it in a second, only part of that was finalized, and it was already too bothersome for the ships, so they never really finished it, the other part. So it kind of makes no sense anymore, because you could just go on the other side of the canal. But still, they're there because they're freaking huge, as you can see. So they don't want to take them away. So the Plofsluis. So the bang locks. It's a weird translation, but you can also see it if I put it on the bigger view. You can see how what the idea was. You can see that these are would be filled with debris. They would blow them up, and then everything would be crashing down. But quite quickly they became too slow, too bothersome in the canal, even during the building. You can see here's of course where the two canals come together. So the Lek and the Amsterdam Canal. But they didn't even finish it for once, because the bridge that we are using is proof that the ships could have just gone on the other side. Interesting structure, they decided to leave it. There are quite a few things, also especially in Germany, there are quite a few objects that are just too difficult to remove. They were built during this can be removed. This is not, in fact, it was designed to be blown up, so in a way it is removable. But there are structures in different countries which are near impossible to remove. It would be too much work, too difficult. They were built during the wars. It's kind of an interesting sort of, we see these more sort of mountain paths circling around. Of course in the Netherlands not for mountains, but we see them off sometimes for bicycles. In this case quite a few. They're quite long. Normally they are shorter. And then we are next to the other canal again. And on the correct side, so you can see already this bicycle path, which of course we have also used in the beginning. This is just nicer to ride on. By now I was getting worried that we would hit the end of the recording, and we will at some point. That's why I was keeping an eye on my watch. Well, I call it a watch, but it's basically a remote for my camera. So I hope you enjoyed this ride. Like I said, it was more aimed for the Blossom Breeze, which I think was worth it to make this recording, even if I didn't have a clear plan. So we're kind of back to the old structure. So this is where we started, but I will continue driving a tiny bit further and taking a different route home. There's a car on the road, there's a car on the road. I already noticed this ship before, it was kind of smoking. Bit too much. Normally you don't see that. I would say this is average size, and they're also going quite fast. Most of the time they go about 20 kilometers an hour. I pass them on the e-bike because I'm going mostly 25, 26 depend. Even a little bit higher if I'm really putting some pedal power in. But they mostly go about 20 kilometers an hour, so the same speed about as the bicycle would do. So here you can see on the Google helicopter view how these boats would moor on the sides. Because they are waiting to pass different parts of the canal or in some of the locks. Kind of fun. The dog was running behind his owner. That's how he was getting his exercise. And more cars. I just find it a bit scary with the dog sort of running without a leash and then cars. So of course I was also holding back again, simply to make sure that the dog would not sort of weave over the road while the car was there. Now it was probably already about 4:15 or something. So some people are already getting home, going to home. And we are entering this part of the city again. Ambulance. And this is about the end of the recording. I think in a few minutes I'm going to pass a drive-in McDonald's. Was not the reason why the recording stopped. My battery was just run out of power. But if my memory serves me right, it was the end of the recording. So I hope you enjoyed this video and the lovely little part of Houten. This part how to get there and how to get back to Utrecht again. Like I said, it's a little bit further. I showed about 50% of me going there and 50% going back. So normally it would take you about 14 minutes to drive from Utrecht to Houten on a bicycle. There we see the McDonald's, and I think I'm going to go around the corner, and then the battery died on me. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next one, which I will pick a new topic again. Now that we have at least recorded the blessings in Houten while we could. So bye bye, and see you in the next one.